Welcome back to the video. So it's officially been 1 year since I posted my first ever Shadowverse Evolve video called Reasons Rikka loves Shadowverse Evolve, and you should too. So it's great to go reflect back and go take a look at this video and see what has basically changed over the landscape. Fun fact that this was actually before Shadowverse Evolve English was officially announced, so it gives some nice good perspective of why I enjoyed Shadowverse Evolve. At the time, this was around the Uma Musume meta, so let's go take a look and see what this video has to offer. Welcome back to the video. So this is basically going to be a simple video today. I'm going to be explaining 5 reasons why I really love Shadowverse Evolve and why it's one of my favorite trading card games. I still stand by that, by the way. It is still, honestly, my favorite card game. The only other one I would see, but I don't really take priority over Shadowverse Evolve, would be with Cross. But honestly, Shadowverse Evolve has been overall perfect, and I'll get to my perfect, at least in terms of my stuff that I enjoy. But we'll get to that when we head to the end of the video. So start off over here, I would like to start with the first point, which is simplicity overall. This is the main thing I do want to emphasize, is that Shadowverse Evolve has been overall quite a thorough, simple game. Great explanations of mechanics, stuff like demos and easy to access resources, stuff like Shadowcard.io, Dexander, and such. There's a lot of different areas to help with trying to grow as a player for Shadowverse Evolve, and the overall game plan is thoroughly straightforward, which is what I really enjoy. So it's definitely a highlight point to note, as this is basically the title, The Simplicity of Shadowverse Evolve. And overall, you take this game into a pretty easy to learn thorough curve, and it doesn't take as much to go master too. As long as you have like the thorough list of practices and such, I'll definitely do a video on that in the future. I personally think that Shadowverse Evolve is honestly more simpler than Rebirth for You. The reason why I say that is because Rebirth for You was actually my first ever trading card game, and that had a heavy amount of simplicity. But the reason why I think it's more simplified over Rebirth for You in terms of Shadowverse Evolve is mainly because of easier to explain interactions, knowing that there could be some complicated rulings or some card text, but honestly the game flow is pretty simplified overall, and there's not a lot of like chaos that Rebirth per You per se adds, where it makes it very hard or tricky and more focus on really trying to avoid a lot of the RNG aspect. That may be a thorough hot take to go start off the video, but I personally think that, and the main use of this is because of simplicity of ability. This is actually true, because ever since really the first set, they've really not tried to heavily overwhelm people with abilities. Granted, there's cards such as Alexander such that do have a bit more complications of explaining when it comes to rules, but overall the abilities have been thorough tame. It's easy to explain to a lot of people that are overall playing the game, whether in casual or competitive scenes. Keep in mind, by the way, this was before I actually got a new capture card, so you'll definitely see a lot of some tabletop simulator lag back. And I haven't really been trying to do a tabletop simulator video again, so look forward to that heading into the future. For example, you can go take a look over here with Fairy Whisperer, which is basically fanfare, which means play down, to summon a fairy and put a fairy into the X area. Yeah, so this was actually the past simulator that I used, which was Jasmine Simulator. So this had the nice overall drop-down menu to help create your decks. Unfortunately, did not get updated past set 4, I believe. It's quite unfortunate, but yeah, as saying before, the abilities are thorough simple, at least when you see it over here from the main searcher, and you'll definitely see that heading into a lot of the future sets too as well. Stuff games like White Shores or even cards by Vanguard, which have a lot of main stacking abilities through. And pretty much the great thing too about the simplicity of the game is that it's pretty easy to follow, even if there's some potential to include text. Yeah, I still agree with that, because I've been still playing for Weiss and Vanguard for about, I guess, like 3 years now, but overall they did have the main trickiness of their main late game or their main boss card, for example. having a lot of thorough text and a lot of different abilities stacked on. When boss cards come into Shadowverse Evolve, mostly the legendaries, a lot of them really focus on one thorough key skill that's the main takeaway rather than a bunch of different abilities all at once. This includes continuous or even like on place or activate abilities too as well. A lot of stuff could have stuff including rush or extra evolve. Those are pretty much overall fine because it just gives you literally the straight up ability. That's exactly why I enjoy keywords in this game, is mainly because of the easy use and a lot of remembering too as well. What's great about the trial decks specifically is that they actually give you keyword tokens like drain or intimidate or rush or aura, etc. So it's pretty cool that they're still taking that thorough focus and not trying to do a lot of memorization in terms of a lot of people have to remember that rush does X or such. It's more so within during practice. I really think that that's exactly why a lot of card games should follow overall. Another thing that I like about Shadowverse Evolve is also tournaments in class is the main uniqueness of this. This definitely shows. I think I kind of actually disagree on this sense. There's like I think coming up was going to talk about the different class variations, but honestly there is a counterpoint, is that a lot of different card games have a lot of different splits in terms of like varying archetypes and such that one would rather go to. So I don't think it's really that much of a unique concept. I think more so the uniqueness comes with really investing in a lot of the main uses. Granted, I think Set 2 did have a tricky time trying to introduce new archetypes, but those will be developed over time. Yeah, I think this is more for towards aesthetics, but you can really say that for a lot of different card games out there. It really feels like that nice world feel that I enjoyed with Card 5 Vanguards, for example. Yeah, maybe I just tried to compare it towards Card 5 Vanguard. A lot more in the comparison of there's a lot of different stuff like nations or things like that, trying to get a lot of different thorough aesthetics, but you can say the same thing in terms of Weiss with different titles. I 100% agree with that, because there's a lot of different aesthetics that are so similar and really works well into their playstyle. That feels like, oh, it feels like a Dragoncraft card despite it being a neutral. I think more so, though, kind of reflecting on back, I feel like they've added a bit more good stuff added to the deck. Stuff like Trail of Light or Bellringer Angel have been really constantly played as of recent times, depending on a lot of different classes. So I really think that, honestly, going back into that take, more so, I would say it's more like a 50-50 split, if anything. Thing I would like to explain for the third point would be the respect to the old game. Now, this is a different point that is very interesting to me as someone who's mostly grown up within the Bushiroad landscape of games, but I would say that I think that side games of Bushiroad do a very good job with making sure a lot of these main cards are pretty much similar. I really enjoy this take because I've been reflecting on what a lot of people have been saying really about the potential direction and the drive of the game. A lot of it has been mostly within side games made knowledge and their R&D team side, trying to take a lot of stuff, especially if they were broken back in the digital game, trying to revitalize them and not make them as broken, or even taking some cards that weren't that good to begin with and even trying to help revitalize them within Shadowverse Evolve. We definitely see that with a lot of different sets coming from the past and the future, so really excited to see on that. And overall, I think that I guess I've been doing a really good job, other than some pretty much overflowing power creep in terms of that. I don't think it's like overwhelmingly highly skewed, but I think their development has been pretty solid overall.
Main difference would be a few revised cards. For example, over here with Dimension Shift, because there's no use of spell boost. Instead, they decided to go try to do something that goes more towards the TCG.
I 100% agree with a lot of different stuff. This also, you can say the same thing with Portalcraft and being mostly within as golems, and even a lot of different stuff where I did a video about how they would add Portalcraft in Shadowverse Evolve. I did say that there are a lot of cards already ported within Shadowverse Evolve from Portal originally, but in different classes. And I honestly think that that's really keeping towards the formula, but trying not to trying to make something completely overwhelming for a lot of new players.
And I think that that's very nice for them to definitely add. I think also the main thing too as well is that they really want this to be a heavy side games focus. So one thing about Bushiroad is that Bushiroad really likes to do a lot of this in this wonky sort of niche stuff.
You know what's so funny about that take, though, is that I think a lot of the English side has been finding a lot of these wonky play styles. Stuff like Flaming Glass have actually seen some thorough big success. Sure, there were some Japanese lists that were running Flaming Glass, but you can see it in a lot of different unexpected classes like Abyss and Forestcraft to see some generalizing success. Same thing located over here. A lot of people are trying to make Vats work with Vania, even though that's a main focus playstyle. But we're even seeing a lot of niche stuff like Lord Atomy has been added in some Abysscraft decks back on set 1. Alana has been seeing some success mostly in the NorCal scene. But there's a lot of different areas and actually some nice variations, and it's really mostly dependent on the deck building side.
In terms of some of their card games, I think what basically it comes down to is more so side games, basically is breathing down Bushiroad's neck and not wanting to go so extreme.
Yeah, I've been always saying this take that this always just been usually happening. I don't think we would see a lot of main crease mechanics, and they're respecting a lot of the cards coming from the digital game.
Or so crazy overall. So I think that this is one example of how they get a lot more simplistic stuff too as well in their card games, and they're not doing something completely outlandish, which I really enjoy from the game as a player myself. The next thing I would like to also explain, which is another favorite, my fourth reason, is the focus on the competitive scene. Now, this was something I was really interested in ever since Shadowverse Evolve got their first ever presentation. What they help do is help structure stuff within WGP.
Yeah, it was actually not something WGP, as the clarification says. It was actually the Shadowverse Evolve Grand Prix, which was actually their separate side. They've been doing a really good job on that, especially a lot of the streams showing that I was be able to do some unofficial English commentary for. I like the system overall. I just feel like that there's a lot of different, there's a lot of rounds packed into that much. And honestly, some of them are including stuff like rank battle to qualify for the championship, which is a bit weird overall. I feel like that could be more implemented to like currently buy cards right now. Definitely do a more reflection on the competitive scene, talking about it in the future though.
And Shadowverse qualifying, and they pretty much have a main structured circuit. I think that this is very great for the scene. There's a lot of thorough potential. I would say I pretty much a little bit disagree about the main timing, but I also see the reason why, because Shadowverse Evolve is a pretty much thorough, fast game, and I think that
Reflecting back on that, I've really seen that a lot of the faster playstyles, even the slower playstyles, have really worked within the time. I just feel like, though, if they wanted to thoroughly extend time, you'd include best of 3, but I don't think they wanted to really consider best of 3 initially on it. And I kind of still feel like that this game does feel like a good best of 3 game, but again, this is more so main focus on how much timing and how many rounds player wants to utilize within it.
sort of makes sense overall, but there's a lot of great potential to begin with. I think that's the main simplistic style of a BO1. Could also throw into a BO3, but that's probably a video for another time.
Yeah, I still do want to do a video of Shelf. I kind of do want to do a video on that because my locals in like the first month focused on best of 3, and honestly, best of 3 has been a lot of fun. You get a lot of different games and such, but I honestly think that you can go either way on this.
A lot of different little examples like having a sideboard, but I'm gonna
I still kind of agree with the sideboard, mostly though if it's like within the BO3 aspect, but Honestly, yeah. This did have a potential to have a sideboard in the past.
Hopefully get another video maybe within the next few weeks to try and clarify a bit about the competitive scene. But it's very great that they have a thorough structure involved, and they're getting a lot of people to play in the game, which is really nice. Another thing too I like about the competitive scene is also the uniqueness of how they implement their streams, and something that I wish other Bushiroad games utilize.
I really do agree with this because I love the presentation that the Shadowverse Evolve streams have been doing, especially how you're able to actually see people's hands rather than trying to guess what they have from a top-down view. So hopefully, side games can consider that in the future.
Honestly, is the perspective viewing.
Yeah, that I love this angle.
Really get to show the hand for a brief amount of time. It's very great to see some players' perspective and more of easily guessing.
Yeah, this is really helping why I was thoroughly interested with commentary in the first place was mainly because of the main thinking process of what can the person do next and such. Really cool to definitely see that.
To what's potentially a plan here if they get stuck with a hand. It's kind of unfortunately hard to go figure out if they have a specific hand or not without basically having two specific perspectives of watching. So I think that this is a very great utilization for the competitive scene, and I really hope they put more into practice in this in future tournaments. The last thing I would like to go explain of why I think that Shadowverse Evolve is my favorite card game out of everything is mainly the definition of playstyle. So
Yeah, I really think a lot of the Bushiroad games are trying some of that formula of like different playstyles. I'll definitely have a video in the future about from Rikka's theory crafting about the different playstyles within Shadowverse Evolve. But honestly, I really think that there's a high emphasis on playstyle, and this really helps because it's transitioned from the digital game where there's definitely like a control or a combo focus or a tempo focus or an aggro focus, etc. We see that sometimes in some of the other Bustro card games, but they're never heavily emphasized, which is tricky. It's maybe like sometimes it's there, but then kind of has to adopt a different strategy in the first place. I like that you can just go just straight up one playstyle and basically just focus on that.
look at the field open here. I think that it's very great to show that some of the main decks and classes are going to be mainly diverse, and a lot of them do not follow pretty much like the same trend. So it also gives this nice flexibility part within also just deck building. I think the main definition of playstyles that you heard aggro, turbo, or actually aggro. When you think about different playstyles, you think of such stuff as aggro, tempo, combo. There's a lot of different.
Yeah, I think funnily enough, I forgot to edit that out. But yeah, that's basically kind of what I'm trying to explain. It's like some of the main playstyles that people are accustomed to seeing.
Like you can go take a look at Swordcraft, it looks like play potentially heavier push.
Yeah, that's definitely agreeing. I feel like it's got a bit slower in the feature sets, but that's a pretty good analysis from past me.
Nightmare who plays pretty much a lot aggressive overall, and you also look at stuff like Forestcraft, which helps give a lot of the combo aspect.
Yeah, no, I still agree with that. It's unfortunate now in set 2 after while some testing, but yeah, it's gonna go more into that like main combo aspect later on in the future.
But also a lot of these can have some mix and play of styles, which is very great. The main also great example is Una Musume. Great thing about Una Musume is that it has different distinct styles, and I really like that within a card game, rather than some other card games, more focusing not much on play style, but more of this stuff just overall works, and you just go get along with it.
Yeah, that's like kind of why I don't like good stuffs in a way. It's like generic utilization, but not really trying to have a forged identity in that main structure.
And some talk
I
about
could also say that for a lot of different decks too,
what's missing in a lot of different card games.
like less structure but just more good on paper cards.
Play styles, and I'm glad that they merged this into trying to implement as much styles as possible. So, what's a great thing too about this is that if you take a look at my saved object over here,
That's a very old save file too.
every single
Yeah, I think I mainly say that because I like the theory crafting aspect, and there's just a lot of different stuff of, oh, one change could be highly impactful.
class over here. So a lot of these are very great examples for me trying out different play styles, me trying to see what works and what doesn't work, and I highly recommend to go definitely check those out. Those are basically the main 5 reasons why I recommend Shadowverse Evolve and why.
Yeah, so basically, to conclude on this side, Overall, I would say that the biggest highlight is the simplicity of this game. That's something that I try to heavily focus on with trying to help grow within the scene. This game has a pretty easier barrier to go into, and definitely you can get a lot of your works on trial decks too as well. Even just one trial deck by itself is just really, really good. And I think it really helps build up to go get more people joined involved, and really excited to go see especially the future within the game. These are a lot of the reasons that I mostly agree with some of them. I feel like the one of the points about the aesthetic side, I kind of disagree with Reflecting Pack, because I think it's just more so I haven't really seen a lot of these main distinct styles in a while. It makes me really think of back at Card 5 Vanguard, but actually going back on it, it's really majority of card games kind of have that main bounce effect in terms of the aesthetics. But other than that, that's something I definitely want to highlight, is a lot of reflections coming back from a year ago is really still resonating with me today, and that's why overall I like Shadowverse Evolve. Other than that, that's been it for today's video. It's a pretty long one video today. Thank you all for joining in. I appreciate it. Continue to embrace the darkness, and we will see you all in the next video.